This channel supports Extra Life in its efforts to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. For more information about how to donate and join in their efforts, go to the link displayed here. Extra Life. Play games, heal kids. What up, everybody? This is your boy Black Magus, and I did a couple of reviews on two Amazon devices that I own: the Amazon Fire 4K TV and the Amazon Echo Spot. And I wanted to talk to you guys about the Amazon family of stuff because the smart home thing is starting to pick up a little bit, and people are starting to invest in these devices, smart TVs, smart refrigerators, all of this, and a lot of people are looking to get these smart home enabled voice devices like the Echo family, like the Google Home, and I believe Apple has one, stuff like that. And I felt like since I'm kind of more invested in the Apple ecosystem, I should talk to you guys about that and kind of give you my opinion on what would probably be a good way to approach this if you want to get into this, and how to organize, I guess, your smart home. Now, my choice has been the Fire TV and the Spot, simply because they offer things that kind of cater to me, especially in my home environment. And I think that's one of the things that you first need to address is, like, what is your home environment like? But before you even do that, the first thing you need to do is, if you're serious about getting into this and you have a smartphone, go to the Apple Store or the Google Play Store and download the Amazon voice-able device. Her name is Alexa. I can't say it loud because if I say it, my spot will go off and she'll be wondering what the hell I'm trying to say to her, because the mic can be kind of sensitive depending on how you have it set, and again the spatial area where it's in, because it will pick up the voice very well. You don't have to yell at these devices, which is cool. So be careful when you say her name if you don't want her to respond back to you. Anyway, and we'll get into more of that a little bit later in this video. But so get the app and play around with it. See how you like the responsiveness, if you think it's something that's useful for you. And then go from there. Start thinking about the space of your house. I live in a studio apartment, so the Spot alone is all I need to go along with my Fire TV. It hears everything. Alexa, what is the weather today?
In Capitol Heights, it's 88 degrees Fahrenheit with partly sunny skies. Tonight, you can look for cloudy skies moving in and out with a low of 76 degrees.
Now, you may not have heard her well because it's on the other side of the room, but I'm sure you kind of heard her. I can hear her well being here. But that's the thing. Like I said, I don't have to yell to have her respond, and in the space that I am in. Also, the speakers on the Spot are really, really good. Also, the original Echo has really, really good speakers. The Dot and the Show would be the weaker of the two speaker-wise. But I would definitely recommend the Dot still, because, okay, this is where you move into the next phase. Once you figure out your space and what you need and how many you may need, you have to think about what your strategy is as far as placement in rooms. Now, the Dot is a good utilitarian one all around, just like for your basic needs with the voice commands. The Dot, you can't go wrong with that. It's cheap, very affordable, and it works extremely well. It's good for a room-to-room basis, or if you just want one in a room just to do basic things, it's fine. But then you have to think about all the stuff that you can get into with these Echo devices, because, I mean, they even have dropped the Echo device that helps you with your makeup. I forget the name of it, but it's some craziness like that. But this is where you have to start thinking about what is it that you want. Are you trying to build a super smart home? Like me, I'm not necessarily doing that, although I am interested in getting some smart plugs to see how it works through this, because even if you don't have smart devices, you can turn them into smart devices with smart plugs, so to speak, at least to control the on and off features of them with those. So there's that too. And then once you figure out like how you're building your home, think about what you want in what room. Like I think the dot is good mainly for um, bedrooms, especially for kids, things like that. They do have a kids version, which you can limit, so that's always cool. And that's another thing about getting that app too, is because that app on your phone is kind of going to be like your all-in-one um, controller of your smart home, so to speak, because you can set up the relationship between devices and what commands what can do and what it will be able to touch. Because you can have a smart device in every room, and not all of them have access to certain functions. Like your kids won't be able to turn on certain things just because they have one in their room, because you may not have assigned that device to whatever smart device that there is. So it's things like that that are really cool. So you can set it, and then you have to think: do I need one in my kitchen for some reason? Do I need one in my living room? Do I need it in my bedroom? Like for me, the Spot is a good bedroom one too, because of the way it's designed. The face naturally is a clock radio, so to speak. It just shows the time on it, and it just pops up the alerts and alarms when it needs to. So you can just use it basically as an alarm clock as well. It's the right size for a nightstand. Whereas the Show, you can put on a nightstand, but that's going to take up a lot of room. I feel like the Show is more of the living room centerpiece thing, the place where you're mainly going to be spending a lot of your time in, where you're not sleeping though, because you could use that with cameras, smart cameras, and you could use that kind of as a security type system thing as well. So that's how I kind of envision the Show being utilized by most people. And you can do that with the Spot too. You don't need the big screen, as long as you don't need that big screen. Although if you're using it for security purpose, Show's probably going to be the better one to tie your security stuff in because of the size of the screen. I feel like the original Echo kind of has worn its welcome, because it's kind of gangly in comparison to the other stuff. Like I feel like the other things like have a better aesthetic fit, as well as just the use of space for that makes sense for them. Whereas the Echo being this tall cylinder thing, it's kind of weird. Even though the speakers are really really good and things like that. Yeah, I feel like unless you're just wanting different designs for your device, the Echo kind of doesn't fit, especially since the dot allows different colors and things like that. So that kind of like makes the Echo, like spending the $80 or whatever for the Echo, kind of like a no-go, because it doesn't really offer anything extra except for the good speakers for music play. But again, you could do this with all of them. It's just that if you want it for music, think about Bluetooth connectivity, which I believe the Dot, Echo, and Spot have, but the Show doesn't have. So you can connect Bluetooth speakers if you're trying to DJ a party to most of the devices. And don't quote me on that, because now I'm thinking, I don't think the Dot actually has Bluetooth when I think about it. But the Dot is something you're just going to get for people just to use for quick commands. Whereas if you want more, I'd say get the Show. Spend the extra, get the Show. You can actually do more and have the same luxuries of the regular Echo. Not the Show, I'm sorry, the Spot. The Show, to me, is the real big outlier, though, because I feel like beyond the 7-inch screen, the Show is not really worth the $229. Yeah, it's all about that screen with that device, because it's not doing anything significant. Again, it fails in comparison to the Spot, which is the smaller screen version of the Echo video devices that does like the same thing and a bit more. You know what I mean? So, and then of course I'm not going to leave out the Fire TV, because Fire TV has its place too in this discussion, because we now have the Fire Cube, and the Fire Cube to me is kind of like the Show, which is like, I understand, I get what you're saying. You have this device that you can use as an Echo device as well as your TV device, but you have to make sure that you're putting this in a place that is very, very convenient for what it does, because it has to be connected to the TV. Any Fire TV device has to be connected to the HDMI port of the TV to facilitate the applications being run on the TV. So unless the TV that you're going to dedicate the Fire Cube is in a place where that works best for also your voice commands as well, like if it's going to be a living room thing, fine, that's well and dandy. But again, you don't necessarily need that either, because the Fire TV is voice enabled through the remote control, so you can still get that remote control, that voice activation thing through the Fire TV. So it's just like the Cube just kind of takes the remote out of your hand, as it were. But here's the other thing that kind of trumps the Cube too. All the Fire devices, all the Echo enabled devices, like I said, can be tied in and managed with each other. Like for me, being in a studio apartment, I use my Spot to control my Fire TV. You can do that. So you can just as well maybe have a dot on hand in the living room, or if you have a Fire TV for your TV, and again, you're using your Echo Show for your security, boom, you could just talk to that. You don't need the Fire Cube. The Fire Cube is completely obsolete in that sense. It's just a competing microphone at best. So it's all about layouts and things like that, and like how properly used. Like again, for me, I say Fire TV, Echo Spot. That works in my space. I would say for most people, even with larger spaces, Echo Dot, Fire TV, or Spot would be your go-tos for me. I feel like the Cube and the Show either don't necessarily have a particular purpose in the case of the Cube, whereas the Show, you can have there's a lot of things that you can do with it, but if you're not utilizing a lot of video aspects, and you not utilizing the security thing, but you want video, Spot's fine. And again, it's a 2.5-inch screen compared to 7. I get that. It's not a bad viewing area. And if you have like a Fire TV, what are you using that to watch stuff anyway? You know what I mean? So it's just like, there are combinations, there are different things that you can do with this, but ultimately the question is, should you invest into the whole smart device phenomenon? And my answer is, as long as it works for you. If you're going to utilize these things and you want to, make it as simple as possible, by all means, go. Do that. But if you're not necessarily if you're like me, who are not necessarily that invested in the whole smart device, smart home thing, beyond curiosity, it's a waste. It's like, I want to get a smart plug just to play around with it. That is my motivation right now for smart plugs. Not because I want to make sure that when I walk in the house, I can tell the thing to turn on my lights, so I don't have to flip a switch or anything. I'm just curious as to how it works. And being a content creator and someone who does these types of videos, it also appeals to me because I like to give this type of information out to people. But yeah, if you just need it for the bare basics, the Dot and the Fire TV is where to go, or just the Dot, or just the Fire TV, depending on if you don't want voice command, but you want a device for your streaming of TV. You cut the cord, and you need a streaming device, because that Fire TV, I failed to mention in this review, it does PlayStation View, it does Direct Now, it does Sling. So any subscription based thing, YouTube Red, Hulu TV, you can utilize that through the Fire TV. So if you don't have a smart TV that have all those apps, like I have a Samsung TV, I don't have access to everything, in particular PlayStation View. So yeah, it works for me to have a Fire TV. But it's like, if you don't have a smart TV but you want that streaming stuff, Fire TV is the way to go. Definitely. And again, if you just want something voice enabled, I say Dot first, or make the leap over the Echo and go to the Echo Spot for something more robust. But yeah, definitely, I'm satisfied with what I have got from Amazon. So, hey, cool. Anyway, as always, you guys feel free to hit me up. Let me know what you think, and I'll haunt you later. This your boy Black Makers, and I'm out. Deuces.